right, good morning. Thanks for attending. We are going to conduct a PLC on an action research that I did with my classroom on reading fluency. So the PowerPoint is part of the PLC today. This is just the table of contents of the actual PowerPoint presentation. It's broken up into two parts. I've identified the problem, I've talked about the first intervention, and then a little bit of research that backs up that intervention. I've modified the intervention in part two. I analyzed the data and then kind of just talk about my reflection. This is a vision statement that I created for my own classroom. It says, together, we are constantly working on becoming more respectful, strong, confident individuals while increasing our knowledge and abilities in all areas. We work collaboratively together to build one another up while engaging ourselves in lessons and activities. Our self-confidence and schema are increasing as well as our overall character. And then this is just the agenda for the actual PLC today. Our norms are listed as well as the members you guys here today. We'll review the norms, the PowerPoint presentation. I've got an activity planned to talk about the reading fluency. We'll have a little bit of Q&A time and then we'll adjourn. So step one, I identified the problem in my classroom. And what I was seeing was there was a high percentage of students who are not considered to be a fluent reader. And there's 3 dimensions of fluency, so they are weak in one or more of the areas, whether that be word decoding, automatic processing, or prosodic reading, and I'll discuss those in a little more detail farther along. So when I talk about reading fluency, there's several graphs that you can find on several websites. Most of them differ, like 1 or 2 with the word count per minute. This obviously is the one that we've decided as a grade level that we're going to use. It's broken into fall, winter, and spring. I decided for this action research that I would use the spring word count per minute because most of our winter data is collected at the end of November, December, and since this is the end of January, I decided to push forward a little bit. So a student who is reading 123 words per minute in the spring of their 4th grade year would be considered to be a fluent reader. So those 3 dimensions that I talked about, word decoding is just the sounding out of our words, and actually my class is stronger in that area than the other 2. Automatic processing would mean that they're going to give little effort with the sounding out so they can focus more on the comprehension or the meaning of the text. And then this prosodic reading is that phrasing or that expression to know to stop at the punctuation points and things like that. So this was my baseline data. I have all my students listed by first name. They read a passage to me and I kind of did a running record on them and kept their word count per minute, which is listed here. The ones that are highlighted are the students that were reading 123 words per minute or more. So my baseline data shows that 35% of my students were considered to be a fluent reader. So 35% is not good enough for me, so we need to intervene. My first intervention was called assisted readings, where the teacher is going to read aloud the passage to them while they have the passage in front of them following along. The research that I found to back this up, there was a great article. It was titled Creating Fluent Readers, and the author really stressed that a student must hear what a fluent reader sounds like. It's not enough for them to practice silently in their head. They have to be able to hear it. So because of that, I decided to focus on the assisted readings. The link to my article, and you guys have that in front of you, it has awesome points. The author says to develop automaticity in the prosodic reading that you should use the assisted readings and repeated readings. These are 2 methods that research has shown to improve fluency. kind of wondered, should I use the same reading passage or do we need to use a different reading passage? And the research says that if your students are struggling with word decoding, they really need to use different passages to practice fluency. However, if it's that automatic processing or the prosodic reading that they're struggling with, that they need to use the same passage. They need to hear that passage repeated over and over. So because my students lacked in those two areas, I decided to use the same passage for my interventions. This is just an example. I know it's a little blurry. It comes from our reading series, from the Fresh Reads from Reading Street. So this was the passage that I took the baseline data from. There were 243 total words in the passage. This was also the passage that I read aloud to them while they had it in front of them for a week, so they could hear the unknown words and they could hear what it sounded like to be a fluent reader. And then I took the data again. They reread the passage to me. I did another running record. I timed them for a minute. And you can see that I have more students highlighted after the assisted reading intervention. It grew from 35% of my fluent readers to 50% of my fluent readers. So I decided I need to modify that intervention a little bit. It was successful, and while I noticed that a lot of my students did increase their word count per minute, several were still struggling to read with that expression or that phrasing and stopping at those punctuation points and knowing what those punctuation points mean. So my intervention one modified was going to be choral reading. Choral reading is just when the class or small groups read in unison. I kind of felt like 26 students reading at one time was going to be too many, so we got into small groups with the teacher, and we read the passage together. And there is my data again. It shows after the choral reading intervention, I have several more students that had met that 123 word count per minute. This does not have any numbers on it, but I thought it's interesting. This was the baseline data. The purple is the below average students from the word count per minute, and this was after the intervention and the modified intervention were implemented. And the purple has decreased dramatically. It almost kind of flip-flopped. The percentage of students reading at an average or above average increased 30%. It went from a 35% to a 65%. So now I had a smaller percentage who are not at that word count per minute yet. After the students participated, I had 65% who were at or above 123 word count per minute. They improved in their decoding skills and their processing skills, and many improved with that expression and phrasing. I did have one student who decreased their word count per minute, and then I had two who actually stayed the same, either between the baseline and the intervention, or the intervention and the modified intervention. So I did have that a little bit. So what does the data mean to me? This was important throughout this action research study. I think we always get together as a PLC and we talk about what's important to teach and what's not. And in my opinion, I've always been a proponent of fluency, but I've slowly gotten away from that. And I think this action research study proved to me that it is such an important skill. I can't expect the students to be a fluent reader. I have to instruct them on how to be a fluent reader. It's a critical part of reading comprehension, and I just don't feel like we really, me in particular, prioritize it enough. So it can be improved with the proper instruction. My conclusions, I can conclude that both my interventions, assisted reading and choral reading, are successful in improving the reading fluency. So next steps. For this one, I'm going to use a variety of reading passages. I only used the Cantaloupe reading passage for this 3-week action research study, So now I need to pull in some other, just because they were reading at 123 words with that particular passage. They had seen it like 11 times. So I'm going to use a variety of different reading passages, and then I'm also going to level the reading passages now. Reading Street's awesome that it gives us the above average, the average, and the below average. The passage that I used was just the average 4th grade. So my students who are already at 123 words at the baseline, I'm going to go ahead and start them with an above average reading passage, and then the students who are not there yet, I'm going to start them with the below average and hopefully get them fluent on their reading level and then improve that. It was a great experience. I was able to learn effective strategies to improve reading fluency, and also just learn a lot of strengths and weaknesses with my own students with their reading. Now, bibliography, that was the article that you all have, and then I also cited Reading Street because that's where the passage came from. Thank you.